There we go. There you are.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
How are you?
It's so good to see you.
Good.
I'm going to move up. Really.
And we have to adjust the volume, fix our hair.
Nice. All right. Do you need me to make myself louder at all, or am I good?
No, you're good. It was on my end. My volume wasn't all the way up. Oh, there's Mimi. Mimi says hi.
Hi, Mimi. Oh, I see lots of friends on here. Yay. So fun.
So can you introduce yourself before we start?
Absolutely. My name is Larissa. I am coming to you from the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania, and I am the owner and founder of the Lovely Little Lotus, and I do lots of work all over the Lehigh Valley, but beyond as well. So I do work everywhere with all ages, from babies all the way up to seniors.
That's amazing. And I'm so excited that everyone is doing yoga, from babies all the way to seniors. Oh, I think we lost you for a second. Let's see what's happening. The internet is being bumpy today, so we'll see if she can join us again. Larissa is here joining us from Pennsylvania. And let's see. I think you might have to add yourself in again. Let's see if it accepts you. If not, we can just restart again. Let's give it another second. All right, there she is. Okay, we'll edit all this out, so don't worry. There you are.
I don't know what happened.
You know, a sun flare, the weather shifted, who knows?
So exciting. I hope, do you need me to repeat anything? Tell me what you need.
No, we got it. So I think it just cut out right after you had stopped speaking. And I was very excited to see that you were named one of the most influential women of the Lehigh Valley. That's amazing.
That was a very big honor. I was very surprised.
Yeah.
I was excited, and it's just really awesome when you see the work of yoga and meditation and mindfulness being recognized in a forum I was with some amazing folks at the women event. So
yeah, it's such an honor. And one of the things, and I know this sounds so weird, but one of the things that I loved when I was reading about you was you actually started teaching in your mom's house. Is that right?
Yep.
When you were first teaching, like, that's where you started. And I love that because, you know, when you want to start teaching, just start wherever you can, right? So whatever's available, if it's your living room, if it's your mom's house, like, just start. And I love that you did that.
Yeah, I think that goes to show, and a big platform of my work is accessibility. Yoga does not have to be inaccessible. You can make an accessible practice depending on where you are, and even just bringing the movement and the mindfulness to folks where they are is really important. So
yeah. And in your previous life as well, so you had a very interesting career before you actually moved full-time into wellness. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. So I started as a teacher, and then I went to law school, and I was working in the corporate legal world for almost 17, 18 years, up until December of 2019.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that close. Yeah.
All this work on the side. Yeah. And really trying to build up my practice, because I wasn't sure how that was going to work. I see a lot of folks being really successful in this world, but I know it takes a lot of grit and energy. And I mean, I'm grateful that I was able to make that shift.
Right.
And I did it at the right time. That worked out for me, but I was building that. I mean, I've been building the practice on my own since about 2015. So about 8 years is what took me to get to this point. So, yeah.
So for a long time, and I think this is a lot of people follow a similar path. You kind of do both jobs at the same time, right? So you're it's like you're living a double life almost. You have your day life and you're doing your day job. And then you have this other side where you're doing all this wellness work. Is it interesting, like, living those two worlds? Like, were you able to apply a little bit of each, or do they feel completely separate?
No, I definitely could apply it. And I was asked to do things within that world. Mm-hmm. I mean, lawyers can do. Lawyers can use a little bit of mindfulness, meditation, yoga as well, corporate work as well. But I do think that what allowed me to sort of bring the two together was that my middle son was born with a form of hearing loss, and the advocacy community, which is what brought me to law school, was working with diverse abilities. So that advocacy work was the way I still keep my foot in the legal world with special needs advocacy or diverse abilities advocacy, and bring how mindfulness, movement, yoga can really diverse abilities in so many different ways.
Yeah. My goodness. When you were making that decision to sort of take this leap, what was the thing? Was there like a moment or a spark or the aha moment where you were just like, this needs to happen now? Because it could have happened at any point, right? In your career. I mean, it's 2008, there's a lot of years there. And then there must have been that moment, or maybe there wasn't, maybe it was a longer set of moments. But what was that sort of driving force to do it?
It was lots of little tiny moments. It was also a lot of me wondering and almost resenting what I was doing, which wasn't fair to that profession either, because I wasn't in my heart anymore. I have that desire, that passion to continue to do that type of work. And that doesn't have a value, it 100% has a value, but it wasn't where my heart was. And so I knew I was listening to my heart. I just said, this is silly. You can do this. You've seen so many other, I've seen so many folks do some amazing things and in their example, and definitely the influence along the way to be able to make that decision to make the change and to switch.
What would you, if someone came to you and said, was in a similar situation that you were back in like 2019 or when you were making this decision, what advice would you give that person?
Oh, I would say to just do it. I'm just giving Nike a little nod there, but like I'll just do it, because it was scarier to take that leap. And then once oh my gosh, I wish I would have done it sooner. I had things in place, and I think I just was doubting myself. And, there's a lot of folks who do this. There's a lot of us. And enough of that. Who needs another like face or person? But what I do, I had to remember that what I do, specifically what I do, is also different than what others do. And we need more of us. We need more of us. Yeah. That's what I'll say.
And that's the thing too, like just as sort of like a collective wellness movement, you're right. As many people as can join in any, even if it's an hour a week, or if it's a full-time gig, like do it. Just please do it, because the more people that are out there just offering it in any way, kids, adults, now that I love seeing that there's so many opportunities. There's chair yoga, there's this, and it's just, I love that this is all available, and it's it's open to everyone, and with Zoom and online classes as well. I mean,
it is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think diversity, inclusivity, accessibility, being able to, what you just said, the pandemic was horrible for so many and for reasons, but I also think it showed us and highlighted how much more accessible, inclusive, and diverse this industry can and should be going forward with all bringing our talents together. So
what would you like to see? I mean, I feel like none of us could have predicted the changes that came through the pandemic in the wellness world too. What would you hope to see for like the future? We've made such great strides, but is there something that you're hoping might maybe change a little bit, or could use a little work, or could be more of maybe?
I would like to see the continued value in terms of actually valuing the role that a yoga, mindfulness, and meditation professional can bring in all different areas. I think there's still this, oh, can you do this for free? Oh, can you do this? I understand and appreciate that. I definitely do a lot of that work from a karma perspective to giving back. I do a lot of that. But at the same time, I do think that we need to be able to value ourselves and to be as valuable in what it is I have spent years working on. I mean, it's 24 years of my practice, not just teaching and training. This is in me. So I feel like the more that we're valued and looked at as professionals, we are we do so much.
Yeah. And one of the things too, and I feel like this applies to a lot of industries, even if it's just having honest conversations about money, like what people are paid or what people should be paid. And I hear a little bit of that, but you're right. I'd like to hear more of it. Yeah. What should teachers be paid? What should you be paid at an event or something like that? Just so that it's it's open knowledge and everyone is aware of the numbers that are out there, you know, because at the end of the day, you have to pay your rent, right? So there is this reality to working in wellness that still exists.
And I think it depends on the audience that you're also teaching. Like, I do enjoy making these practices accessible and inclusive to many individuals in many communities. So perhaps when I'm at another event where I know I really want to bring yoga in, but perhaps those individuals don't have the same access to funds, I'm okay,
Right.
That's sure, to be able to bring that yoga to them. But maybe that means that in other spaces where I know funds are readily available, it's like it's a balance. It's a constant balancing act, and noticing where I can shift and change and alter to be able to still provide for myself, my life, my family. So
yeah. Does your family practice?
Yeah, so I have 3 boys, 12, 10, and 8, and the boys' practices have evolved. My littlest comes with me to so many of my events, which has been nice, but also is a challenge to parent, like to have the parent teacher. But I do love having him there. And my middle son, he still does, it's more to complement the sports. Same with my oldest.
Oh,
so that, hey mom, I really need to stretch today. Can you, no problem. It's really important that you have to do it.
Yeah.
Just too, he definitely has embraced this lifestyle and really in part of it. Like, he actually started meditating during the pandemic almost every single day, which I was so excited about. It's really cool to see all of that. So just that support is really helpful.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention, someone is asking in the comments, is there a good resource for a new teacher to figure out what they could charge? Do you know of any websites maybe or forums where people could find this information?
So I feel like it's very regional specific.
Oh, interesting.
And I would look at where you are and actually look at where you are and where the teacher in the space is where you are currently. That to me is a good gauge of what might be reasonable or even unreasonable. Maybe you're like, really? Like, what is that? But at the same time, it gives you a good space to sort of have that back and forth around what it is that you might feel comfortable with charging, or I like ranges. I love how right now we can do supporter rates, community rates, sustainer rates. I really like that pricing so that it's sort of open to many. I encourage folks to look at that. And that's everywhere now. I see it. I see different instructors in different organizations using that tiered rate to be able to still make it accessible and inclusive, but also still to be paid for their time. So
do you find that, is there any difference between teaching a class online versus in person? Would you feel that it's a different payment system as well, or is it just teaching in general?
I mean, it's still your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Time.
I get it.
You know, logistically, obviously you're not having to get into your car, drive location. That factors into it sometimes. Like, how much money is it going to cost me gas wise to go from here to here? How much time am I driving? Like, do you have a endpoint? I had to start making an endpoint. Like, I will not exceed this participation for a weekly class because it doesn't make financial sense for me and where I'm coming from. I think it also just really depends on what's speaking to you. What is offer? If a Zoom is, I'll be more open to having a lot more free sessions via Zoom as well, because it is accessible. You even all the Instagram and Facebook, like, click it. Like, I have been coming up with kids yoga story time, and we made it for a cause, so it's intentionally made to be free and to give back to the communities where our students are coming from. So, like, this is really cool, and I'm doing that with my friend Nia, so I have to give her a shout out. Make sure I do that right there. Like, she's amazing.
Well, you actually reminded me of another question that I wanted to ask you. Is there someone that has sort of, anyone throughout your entire career, wellness or your life, that you wanted to give a shout out to, that's just been like that supporter, that rock, that cheerleader, that's just been like such an amazing person that you would like to just say, and it could be more than one person, thank you.
I have like 3 big folks right at the top of my head right now, but my mom, because she's the one that introduced me to yoga. I was a dancer for 20 years, and I gave that up when I went to school. And that was my outlet. That was my creative outlet. Like that was what I loved. But I gave it up because I didn't think it was a practical thing to keep.
Wow.
And I hadn't, but she had to seek it out as a class. So I did. It was a game changer because it clearly, as that, I'm like, I love this. How it made me feel, how it empowered me to notice shifts and changes in me and my body. So I had, that's it. She's the first one that mentioned it to me. And that was back in, oh my goodness, 1997, 1998.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I think one of the main studios that I support, there's a few here in the Lehigh Valley, and there's some folks at Easton Yoga, Yoga Loft, West End, just give a shout out right there to those folks. Amazing. And they were very supportive, all the folks within those spaces. And my finals is my teacher, one of my I followed for the longest, which is Jillian Pransky.
Yeah. And I love that because it really is, it's a community, you know, and it's just, this is how we keep moving forward, is by all these people around us and all these cheerleaders and all these people constantly inspiring us. It's just like, thank goodness, you know, it's like, yay.
It is pretty amazing. And I think it really helps to have lots of cheerleaders and lots of folks who really can show you the way and support you to go forward. So.
Have you noticed, I mean, you've had, as you started as a dancer and now, you know, so many things have happened. You were a lawyer, you have a studio, you have kids. Has your own personal practice changed over the years?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
The more, it's like, since it's following the seasons of life, it's very Ayurveda based, like how, and learning that sister science is a huge component too. You know, I definitely am a practitioner. I'm almost finished with my yoga therapy perspective on this as well through Prama Yoga. And I think it's really important to listen to your body. And when you have that connection to your body and notice the seasons of your life, of right now, looking out the window and how you feel, and really listening to yourself, because that's what yoga is, that connection with yourself, noticing where you are in this moment. What do you really need? Maybe it's asana, maybe it's pranayama, maybe it's meditation, maybe it's some other part of yoga, which is many and vast. I love all of the different limbs of yoga as well. So I think it's important to remember, like, really listening to yourself.
And like you mentioned earlier, because that then it seeps into all other parts of your life, right? If you take the practice and just, even if it is just the physical practice, and you take that moment to stop and listen, and if we do that in all the other parts of our life, our careers, our relationships, like, oh my God, we'd be superheroes, right? If we did that all the time. It's
important also to have as a yoga teacher, to the extent that you have the resources, or you can access that continuing education and having access to that, because I think that for me, all of those continued practices, seeking out practices with new teachers, with new individuals, has shifted and changed and given me new ideas and influenced my practice in so many ways. I work with child-led education, and we provide services in different ways, but I also think that in that vein, we sometimes forget that a 200-hour teacher training sometimes isn't enough. Like, really, you're barely scratching the surface of this vast, beautiful world of yoga. It's 5,000 plus, 6,000 plus years old. Like, how it's just so amazing and so impactful in so many ways.
It always feels a little bit like just like a charcuterie board or a sampler platter, right? It's like, try these little, see what you resonate with, see what you want to maybe explore further on. You know, when you think about the first training that you ever took, and then all the additionals and how it sort of reached out and branched out into all these different areas, it's just amazing, the vastness of what's available.
It's incredible.
Yeah. What's coming up that you're really excited about? I see you have a lot of partnerships, you have a lot of events going on. Is there a couple that ring out that you're like super excited about?
I'm very excited. I know I mentioned already about the Kids Yoga Storytime because it's really dear to my heart. And I really started intentionally teaching children before I taught adults, which is so interesting. Like, I took my first training with Child Light back in 2015 for children. And for some reason, it resonated with me to teach children first. I don't know why it happened just that way. And then I was like, wait, we could all use this. And also that, like, not losing that connection to being playful and having those opportunities to sort of seek those things out. So Kids Yoga Story Time's coming up. It's mainly free, donation based over the next couple weeks, and I'm excited about that. I have a couple other things in the works, and I'm very excited about those too. And I can't talk about them just yet, but I'm really excited. I'm just like, there's so many good things, and there's so many collaborations and partnerships. And a lot of these are with folks all over the world, not just where I am in the Valley, which I love where I live. I was born and raised in Lehigh Valley, and I am back after many years in New York, New Jersey, and DC. But I do think that reaching out and getting to know others, knowing other cultures, knowing other individuals, getting that diverse perspective, that to me is just, it's where everything is. It just makes everything more rich and beautiful. So
it really does. It's like, I know that I get very focused when I'm working, just as it's by my nature to just plow through and get, and I get these blinders on to try to get the work done. And then I forget. And then I start talking and collaborating. I'm like, oh yeah, this is so much better. Like, you just get so like on your treadmill, you're like, do the conversation with a friend, or someone texts you like a funny picture or something. You're like, oh, and then everything opens up again. And it's miraculous.
I lead a lot of trainings for diverse abilities and for trauma-informed practices, and those are very near and dear to me because I kind of feel like they should be mandatory practices for everyone. Like, you would just make yoga so much more accessible if you had a way of remembering that even in a public class, you have no idea who's going to be there. You have no idea who's going to walk through those doors. And I never want to foreclose the practice of yoga to any of those folks if I said something, did something, or even was using a posture that a person literally couldn't get into in that moment. There's a way to get into it. There are ways to do all these things. We just need to have those resources there. So,
and it's so interesting too, because I think, again, the pandemic, it was one of the things that it really blew the doors open on, this fact that we've always known and kind of hinted at a little bit, but trauma is everywhere. And you could say that most people have trauma. I mean, I think there's a lot of conversations about that too, but like you said, you have no idea who's walking through your doors. And even if it's just having knowing how to communicate effectively so that everyone always feels welcome and always feels safe. I mean, we should have always been doing this, but of course now we have better knowledge and better tools, thank goodness. But I do feel like, again, the pandemic was one of those things that was like, hey, like, pay attention to this, and everyone can benefit. There's not one person that can't benefit from language that is inclusive and safe and encouraging. So
welcome.
Yeah.
Welcome. And I might not be your teacher, and that's also super cool, but I don't want to foreclose the whole practice of yoga from your world just because of potentially making a mistake in terms of make mistakes. I definitely have my share, but I do think that like the way that we approach it, if it's with the yamas and niyamas in mind, that non-harming, I'm sorry, I messed up, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to do that, please forgive me, like having those, them living the yoga every day.
I definitely say this to anyone that'll listen, and even those that don't, if you took a class and you didn't enjoy it, take another one, take another teacher, try a different form, try a different modality, just maybe try a few more times, because like you said, maybe it was the teacher you didn't resonate. I mean, at the end of the day, we're human,
right?
And you will make mistakes. Maybe you're having an off day, but keep trying. And I always like, just try again. Maybe power vinyasa wasn't for you, but maybe restorative will be a better fit. So I always try to encourage my friends to do that. Most have listened to me, so
I try to even those folks, oh, I'm not flexible. I'm like, wait, but there's so many. Then maybe we're not doing an asana practice. Yeah. Maybe we're doing a practice that maybe we're doing some kind of other that is more accessible to you in that moment.
Yeah, I love it. Larissa, thank you so much for chatting with us today. And thank you for supporting Yoga Love Magazine. We are a free community magazine. And we are only this because of partners like you who have shared with us your talents and your energy and helped us get it into print. We actually went to print yesterday with the issue. It will be available in June. They're at the printing press. I don't know if this is how a printing press works, but they're being printed right now. So your copies will be available to you in June. And thank you so much for joining our community.
Thank you so much for doing this work too. So I'm so grateful that you asked me to come here.
I'm going to save this on our Instagram, and I'll send you the YouTube link as well so we can play it later and listen again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Larissa. Take care.
Goodbye.